Photography is a medium of multiples. Artists often revisit their negatives for years, if not decades, after the image is made. So here are a few tips for how to date a photograph. Before we touch the object, best practice is to don our gloves or to make sure that we have washed our hands, as I just have. Now, these are two Edward Steichen photographs. I'm going to start with this wonderful early print. Its object gives us plenty of clues as to how to date it. Starting with the negative itself, we see that he is written June 14th, 1928. But when was the physical photograph made? We're going to look at the back now for some extra clues. Photographers often use a variety of studio stamps throughout their careers, and that can help us in terms of figuring out what the dating is. So on the back of this photograph, we see Edward Steichen's 80 West 40th Street, New York studio stamp. So we know that Steichen was at West 40th Street from about 1923-24 to 1934. So that fits perfectly with the dating of the image being from 1928, and now we have a bit of an end date as to when this particular print might have been made. Now, when we think about how to date a photograph, we're also looking at the physical paper, looking at the tonality, looking at the surface. On this photograph, this early print, we see it's a rich, warm-toned paper. In raking light, you can see a bit of silvering, that age that you get with earlier prints. Now, by contrast, we have this beautiful example of his very well-known portrait of Gloria Swanson. The tonality itself feels quite different. It is later. One is significantly warmer and one is cool-toned. Another tool that we use is the blacklight test. Unlike with painting, where you're looking for signs of conservation, with photography, we're looking at the chemistry of the photographic paper. If it fluoresces under a blacklight, that means that there is the presence of optical brighteners. Commercial paper manufacturers started adding optical brighteners to papers in the early to mid-1950s. So if a photograph fluoresces, if it glows, you know it's going to be after that date. If it doesn't, it's before that date. Now, it's not foolproof, but it is one of the handy tricks that we have at hand. Understanding the relative dating of a photograph, understanding if it's an early print made close to the time of the negative, or a later print made decades after, it's intrinsic to understanding it as an object and understanding its value.